presentation tonight, which is about trying to understand what is going on with this. What I wanted to do today was just kind of lead a um, uh, discussion and group learning on what I'm certainly seeing myself, what we're seeing in companies we're working with who have rolled out Teams or Enterprise is just a lot of confusion because all the different models here. So just to baseline everyone, OpenAI is the name of the company. ChatGPT has the consumer versions, the free, the plus, which is $20 a month, and the pro, which is $200. So those are individuals. And then for company use or teams or collections of people, they have ChatGPT Teams, which is $30 a month, and then ChatGPT Enterprise, which is priced through their Salesforce and has a whole set of additional reporting here. The company ones have a whole host of enterprise class security, not using your data here. And we know companies are quite comfortable in the company use, putting highly confidential information, source code, document, printouts from the CRM into it and use that in a safe space here. So those are the basic products it has. You can access these both from the chatbot application, which is either browser-based or you can download to your desktop or download it to your mobile. I don't know if they have a tablet app, or you can access these models via API. And part of the confusion, and I'm curious, Rosemary, others here, they seem to be in two parts. One is, oh my gosh, look at all these models, you know, 4 Omni, O3, O3 Mini High. And then for each of those, there's also the, actually go in there. For each of these models we have, here's 4.0, then across on the context, we have search, deep research, create image, and internal knowledge here. So we have, deep research for O3, we have deep research for O4 Mini. So I think if you look at those different combinations, they start adding up in terms of which ones do I actually use? And so that's one set of questions we're getting here. The other thing I just want to highlight for people who haven't seen, I certainly believe that we've got the step function in the last 90 days on these reasoning models here. We weren't really talking about these much at all in even November. And boy, certainly with the whole DeepSeek and deep research and everything, they've really come on board here. And I continue to see many executives thinking that we're just on this kind of slow continued growth path from 3.5 to 4 to 4.1. And certainly in my mind, these reasoning models are a step function up, particularly things like deep research, which are multi-agents independently running in production here. So basic terms, I'm not sure, Tim or others, what we call initial, I was just calling them initial models. So that's a ChatGPT 3.5, which kind of been famous. We have these Omni models. And Omni stands for, my understanding is multimodal. So it's for Omni, as I think the correct way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And these are good for, been training data here. You get quick responses, really good for everyday uses here. And then there's a whole nother class of models called the O series. There's no O2, but there's an O1 and O3. These are these reasoning models where they think before they answer. So it takes more time to get an answer back. And they use a chain of thought, which is a algorithmic approach here before responding, using breaking down the task into simpler steps and trying different approaches here. Do people agree with this? Does anyone know the difference?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it just depends. ChatGPT 3.5 is sort of when the world's brain exploded, maybe. I mean, because there really was a ChatGPT 1 and a ChatGPT 2 and a ChatGPT 3. So it just depends how far you want to drop it. This is a good starting point because that's when people started to notice it. And it is confusing. And as John has said many times, their naming is awful. So maybe they're good because they don't waste a lot of time naming and pay a lot of experts on names, tens of thousands of dollars to pick a silly name. They just say, we'll come up with our own silly names.
And Tim, how do you think about the 3.5 and 4? These single modal model legacy models?
Well, ChatGPT 4 is multimodal now. It didn't start out
Yeah.
as I recall, multimodal, but it's multimodal now. And honestly, my recollection now is when you use ChatGPT, I give them a lot of credit. There are a lot of complaints I can make, but I give them a lot of credit for their UI and their usage model, their experience, if you will, because I don't ever say use the web. I don't ever click on the button that says make it search the web. I just give it a question and it figures out if it needs to search the web. I give it an action, and if it needs to draw a picture, it draws a picture. So they have those little things down there. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know that you need to use them. It's clever enough to sort of figure out what tools it needs. And Claude is pretty good at that too. Same thing. I don't have to tell Claude to search the web. It will search the web if it needs to.
That's interesting, Tim. So yeah, so I haven't spent enough. I just only like 3 days to realize that deep research is available to every model, but I've not tried using deep research and not clicking on it. It seems to actually.
I haven't. Well, I think if you want to do deep research, you do have to click on it because that is a different. It's running a different system, right? And it's more expensive, so it doesn't want to do that by default. But if you say, "Tell me the score of all the NBA playoff games last night," you don't have to tell it to search the web. It will search the web and give you the results. I mean, that's kind of a silly example,
But
I feel like it's pretty recent that like it used to be that you have.
yeah, I think that's right.
But
actually, its ability to search the web is pretty recent. So all this is pretty recent. And it's true. I think at the beginning, when it first came out, you did have to click on the little search icon. Yeah. But I don't think you do, at least, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you do anymore.
No, you don't. I was surprised. I'm like, oh, I forgot to click search. And it's, oh, it doesn't matter. It does it anyway.
Go ahead, David. Thanks for raising your hand. Oh, Lucinda, were you done?
Yeah.
You had raised your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and correct me if people think I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that deep research uses O3 regardless of what the model is that you have when you choose it. I don't think it pays attention to that. If someone knows I'm wrong, speak up. But I read about that recently.
So in this case, I've got 4O Omni classified, but I had deep research, and you think it's probably using the O3.
Well, that's my understanding from having read about what it does. But again, if I don't want to. Things are changing so fast, also that
No, I think I can chime in here, David. I feel like, yeah, you're right. Irrespective of which model you are choosing in your window, deep research is running on one of the O models.
And then
thank you.
And then where it says more models, and we have 4.5. The reason that's not 4.5 Omni is because that's not multimodal yet. Is that a correct statement?
I don't know. I haven't. I mean, their naming is confusing, and
O3 is not multimodal, I don't think. I think that if you want to do, like, it may be you can do visual inputs through O4 or 4O, but then you can still do deep research, and maybe the engines in the back is O3, but it's been able to parse the image.
So Paul, why don't you ask it?
Yeah.
Ask the robots. I love it. Okay, let's go ask it. So, and which model should I ask? 4 or O3?
4.
Yes.
All right, well, let's try 4. We'll work our way up here. So, why?
Or explain what model you're using.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could ask the model itself of what model to use.
All right, so I just make up a PFAS legal exposure. Well, actually, it's already jumping. All right, let me ask it which open AI model.
Might be still working on your contract there.
Yeah,
You could
which,
you could ask it to explain the difference.
well, I've asked this, yeah, let's go back. I've asked this 3 or 4 times this weekend and I still don't get good answers for it. So explain
Mm.
differences among all open AI chat GPT models. Create table.
This would work good with search. So to first search on the internet to identify the different models.
All right, so first let me get my optimized prompt. So there's my optimized prompt. So let me copy that. We'll start with 4 perhaps.
Or also, I was thinking, ask the query, then ask it, which model did you just use?
Well, I'm assuming it used the one I just selected. No? Yeah, so we've got. Yeah, so this is what I was getting this weekend here. And I didn't spend enough time. I was asking it to have other columns for the mini and a mini high and the 4.5. So I didn't find this particularly this not useful, not current. Analysis.
You know what I do sometimes is I just tell it, I'm confused. Can you please explain this to me like I'm a 10-year-old?
Okay. Let's try
Searching
that.
the web for its own model. Searching the web for its own model is kind of ironic.
So Paul, if the question is, does it use O3 to do deep research?
Yep.
The help articles on OpenAI suggested it does.
Yeah. That was my understanding.
I posted that in the chat.
Yeah. So here it's saying 3.5 is gone. 4, and I hear even I don't believe it. Tasks requiring advanced reasoning and understanding. Well, I think 4 is actually retired. It's really 4 Omni, which is out there. This is multimodal, real-time assistance. And then O3, step-by-step logic reasoning.
What if you ask Gemini the same question?
I did that as well this weekend, and I got much better responses from let me go to my Gemini. So Gemini 2.5.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at least for me, at least, I mean, John Sfiokla and our team, we were with their company on last Thursday and was their CEO and I don't know, 30 or 40 of the top execs. And it was very confusing for them. These are, CEOs pushing hard who wants his team to use and, eventually sorted down to, try, 4 Omni and O3 and kind of deep research as the kind of 3 pillars on it and end up kind of ignoring the different nuances of what mini high, mini are. I mean, these almost, does anyone actually use these? Know what they're good for?
Yeah, I do use O4 Mini is very good as compared to GPT-4o because GPT-4 has been updated in March 2024 and it's been over a year. They haven't updated the new data over here. So yeah, O4 Mini is very good in reasoning model.
Thank you. Then why would you ever use O3? Shouldn't you always then use O4?
Pricing.
Yeah, so the costing and also the reasoning, and it is very fast as compared to O3. O3 is like it goes on real-time data as compared to O4 Mini, and it is very cheaper as compared to O3. O3 you have only 20 or 30 prompts, I guess, daily you can use, and O4 Mini you can use 50 prompts, I guess, daily. And plus,
Rosemary, when you're, if we move it to discussion on kind of employee rollout, the OpenAI doesn't really give any indicators to employees of the cost. Do you find, John, I know John on our team's done a lot of work on, seeing a token explosion over the next 2 or 3 years. These companies are going to have more and more tokens usage and the token budget's going to go. Have you seen companies concerned about explosion of this, and therefore we want to train employees? No, use 4.0 because that's the more economical one. Be very careful. I mean, most companies I'm seeing, they're just trying to get people to embrace this, to actually get this to be a social norm and not a novelty item.
No, I'm seeing two types of company. Either they're using Copilot or Gemini. So it's all the employees that are using ChatGPT on their own accounts, right? Because they still prefer it, right?
Yeah. Mark, are you seeing that same thing? I saw you raise your hand. You seen that in your organization?
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to use Copilot, but Rosemary's right. There's a lot of people that are kind of going off the reservation and doing their own thing, and or we're kind of looking the other way.
Yeah.
Because we want people to embrace it and use the technology.
Correct. And Mark, will you look the other way because technically it may not be in employee use, or you think they're responsible enough that it's shadow IT? There really isn't that much confidential information out there, or it's just better not to think about driving without a seatbelt?
Yeah, I think it's the second. I mean, I know that the compliance people are going to eventually sniff all this out. But we want to embed the use of AI ahead of that time. So when they get all riled up, we're going to be like, look, it's too late. Look at all these amazing things we built.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, the organization that I work with half-time, where I'm trying to be an AI lead there, it's interesting. We have a lot of very smart people. The average person there is a Harvard graduate with an MBA, right? It's a management consulting firm, so they're very smart. And the other half is lawyers. And so we've had Copilot for over a year, and hardly anybody's using it. Some people use it, but the rollout wasn't great, and that's part of the problem. But the real problem is ChatGPT is so much freaking better. That is the real problem. Every time I just had one of the top guys in one of the practices, so he took a deliverable that was just about done, and he ran it through Copilot and said, make this better. And then he ran it, and then he took out all the, he was good. He took out all the confidential information and just changed the names basically, right? And then ran it through ChatGPT, and his conclusion was Copilot was useless, created nothing of value. ChatGPT actually had some value, not tremendous, but some value. It's made a couple of really good suggestions.
Yeah.
And that's, it's anecdotal, so it's dangerous a little bit, but that is the experience I've had consistently myself as well. I mean, ChatGPT can still do some stupid things. I used it last night, and it told me it was going to give me a table that I could edit, and the table wasn't editable. I said, it's not editable. I said, well, let me do it again. It wasn't editable. I said, well, I'm just going to give you yeses and nos next to all the things. Didn't put any yeses and nos, and I'm like, okay, I give up. So it can still have a lot of brain cramps. But on the other hand, it's generally quite good at doing a lot of different things and far superior to Copilot, just not even in the same league.
And Tim, on that one, then we'll go to Rosemary next. I've had 3 companies tell us where IT wants to do Copilot so badly because they want to have less tools. And there's something about the Copilot, I'm not sure what it maybe Rosemary, you, that if you like think about it or drive by or kind of open, it counts as a usage. So I have a lot of the IT people saying, Paul, you don't understand. We have 95% usage of our Copilot in our organization here. And I'm saying, well, why can't I find someone that loves it? So it's a kind of, drive-by usage to justify the choice to stay in Microsoft, where you got execs and a lot of the power.
Yeah, I try it all the time, and again, part of it is it's poorly designed. So there's, 25 different co-pilots, and different co-pilots do different things. And they don't do a very we're a small organization. They don't do a very good job supporting us and just telling us, hey, you could do that with Copilot. Because there probably are a lot of things you can do, but it's like Microsoft Word. There's 59,000 features, and I know about 12 of them.
Go ahead, Rosemary, and then Lucinda.
Yeah, I'm just making a screenshot. So I'll just, I think that Copilot is complicated for people to use. And I'm just trying to put a screenshot here. So just in 2 months, we've seen, by training sales teams, we've seen some really nice adoption, but we're talking salespeople are required to attend these sessions, and they're twice a week and covering different things. But with Copilot, people get annoyed at a lot of different things. Like it surprises me, but the Copilot window is really small, and people just get so annoyed, they just go to ChatGPT, right?
Absolutely. They only give you that little ribbon thing along the side. They won't do anything in line if you're working on a Word document. Yeah, there's just a lot of annoying features as well. Yeah.
But just before I finish, but the biggest benefit is it does an awesome job at getting into your own knowledge base, right? It's got all your docs and Excel and everything, PowerPoints and so on.
But if it was exact same price, and ChatGPT's now doing that for Google Drive, they can do that now. I assume it's on the roadmap to do it for SharePoint and everything. Would you still stay with Copilot? What's the reason to stay with Copilot? Is it purely price? I think it's purely price, right?
No, I would stay with it.
Copilot's more.
Because you can have it access all your documents. You've got 2 tracks, right? You've got your work, and then you've got web. So you can be in 2 different spaces in Copilot.
And do you have a view on Glean? Do you have a lot of your customers? We heard a lot about Glean. Do you have any of your customers using Glean for enterprise AI search?
If they do, I don't know about it.
Great. Go ahead, Lucinda, then Michael.
Yeah, I think you were just asking about different types of ones in the corporation. I found that Gemini in the Google Workspace is actually good. We have like just tons and tons of documents in our Google company drive. And it's so great at, just like, have we ever talked to anybody in this industry? Have we ever talked to this company before? And it's fantastic at that. And yeah, it's good for like all the email stuff as well. Like, okay, just summarize all my conversations with this client if stuff is like going on and on and on. So I have found those two that in those 2 types of situations, Gemini in the workspace is actually, it's nicely integrated and it's easy. It has great suggested questions, and it's just there always if you want it, and it goes and does stuff for you.
And Lucinda, share about your organization. So is the official secure employee chatbot Gemini, and does all employees have that?
No. Right now we are still in the point of, I've been talking about like, why don't we should have an official one that we should have, and it should be one like Teams, ChatGPT. I would be recommending ChatGPT Teams, because I think it just makes a lot of sense. They're still at the front of the pack, etc. So yeah, and then I feel like a lot of people use ChatGPT, like they don't really know about Claude or Perplexity that much per se. I think they probably know about Gemini just because it's always floating around in our Google Workspace.
And before I go to Michael, Lucinda, something that I've literally in the last 3 or 4 weeks become even more convinced. I think particularly for mid-sized companies and small mid-sized companies, they should start with Teams. They should take POs and go down, buy the $30 per user per month, your top 20, 50, 100 people here. Give everyone confidence and learn how to use that Swiss Army knife. So no one's allowed to use any other ones until you prove that this tool can't do it before you jump to another tool here. At least understand that from a change management confidence, because that's what your kids are doing. That's what your neighbors are doing here. That will give you social capital talk confidently about this outside of work, which hopefully reinforces usage. But
yeah, I mean, everybody's going to do their own thing anyway to some extent, but yeah, I do think that just offering it to people, anybody who wants to do it, or just saying, okay, these employees that are doing these types of jobs should have it. Certainly, but then you also have to follow it up with, and I don't know if you call it training. I don't know if you call it, alert. I'm trying to do. I mean, I've learned so much from this learning lab. I'm doing a learning lab in my company, so we call it lunch and share. So I try to get people to, bring in examples and things.
We don't have food here. We just have bad jokes and food. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I was going to say that what I've noticed is people that have Google workspaces, and a lot of their investment is towards Google Workspace, then they tend to use Gemini. The ones with a whole lot of Microsoft Office, Microsoft products, Copilot tends to be the norm in the larger corporations. And then I've got one of my brother-in-laws, he's dyslexic, but he uses the chat part, he uses the audio part of Copilot and talks back and forth, and has it make notes for him and everything else.
That's great. Well, well, thank you, everyone. That's what I wanted to get accomplished, just to kind of baseline my sanity. And, I think it's very fluid. Are there other contributions on the OpenAI, or we could open up the last 5 minutes of open mic if people want things they want to share, or things they're impressed by, or people spending more time understanding the Gen AI talking to dolphins? And
I have a question, actually. So so we have Copilot at this organization, Manat, Phelps, and Phillips, and there is a desire to load up a bunch of. We do a lot of work with state Medicaid, and they want to load up a bunch of public but huge state Medicaid contracts. If we do that, I think you can do this, but I'm not sure. This is the problem with Copilot. If we do that in SharePoint, put it in some SharePoint repository, then can they just ask questions about that repository directly to it using the Copilot chat interface? There's a lot of data. It's way too big for a context window. Way too big.
Well, can't you test that easily? Can't you take 1,000-page document?
Well, I will. Yeah, I just got asked this today. Yeah, just came up. So you can paste one of these PDFs right into any window and then just ask it. But if there's 50 of these and then variations on that, it's going to be way too much data to fit in a single context.
Well, Tim, let us know what you learn. It doesn't sound like
I will. Yeah.
Go ahead. We'll start with Matt and then Raymond. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, I come from a corporate background, but I left a year and a half ago and do a deep dive into AI. So using a lot of these tools, and I also go and train a lot of corporate users, and those that are using Copilot, say a lot of the same things, that the models are limited. They can't load their own data sets, or they can only load them in certain ones because of the data security. And I always just say, look, get a $20 version of OpenAI, and we'll show you what's possible outside. And they see the difference between what you can do with just the $20 version compared to what they can do on the inside. Right. And what we've seen, the most successful companies, well, the ones that struggle the most are the ones that are just trying to jam AI into their existing products and processes, kind of like Copilot. Someone said, Word, how many features does it have that are never get used? The really successful ones are kind of redesigning their workflows around what AI does best. So,
and Matt, keep going with that. And what I'm starting to see out there, instead of $20 a month for the business thing, go to $30 a month. Get Teams. I think the Teams' minimum might be 3. Now you got secure thing here. Go hog wild. No one, that is encryption at rest, encryption at transit here. Contractual obligation on data usage here, and that's a very safe room. You can just confidently drive in there and defend claims against shadow IT. And it's another couple $100 a month here. And you can buy by the month. Do it for 2 months and throw it off.
Yep. I'm a big fan of Anthropic Teams as well. I've got both of them. So
that's great. Well, good. Any other contributions? Or it's amazing. This stuff keeps changing and improving. And I was telling Curious, I think we really are on the exponential part of it. I was only listened like 10 minutes of whoever the Gladstone AI. They were on Joe Rogan on Friday, but they were talking about some benchmark they have for agents, and they track a task, how long it to do. And I say like a 3 hour, a week task, they think it's now, a day or something, and it's doubling every 4 months. The comment they made, which really got me thinking, they were saying within a year, a task that takes a month, they think will be down to an hour. So this idea that this learning curve is just is so high, and it's harder for our darn monkey brains to get around it here. And that's why, Mark, I keep looking at you. I think it's so important for these executives. I used to think it was most important executives to get at the process level. I'm increasingly now thinking they need to get at the visceral level and understand it for their own personal.
Yes.
For every cognitive thing they have an AI agent next to them that's smarter for them on their major decisions, on their board meetings and everything else. To wrestle with that and then use that as a way to understand this profound change that's going on here, because it's everything I see. The AI, that we're moving a recession here. They're going to rip the jobs out. Every CFO is going to say
Oh, yeah.
AI can't do it here. And then there's only going to be two types of companies. There's going to be companies that are disrupting, the AI disruptors, the native ones or incumbent ones are leaning hard. And the other ones, and the people who are learning, they're learning fast. You can't catch up if your competitors spent a year getting their top 500 people up to speed on this stuff here. But that's my vent. Yeah, go ahead, David, then we'll finish up.
A few little different things. One of them very boring, but I happen to need to do some small volume but accurate OCR, and Claude 3.7 Sonnet was better or comparable to sort of state-of-the-art OCR things. I just wanted just a random little random little tidbit. And the other thing is, I heard
before you go to the next one here, someone told me that Google Flash 2.5 was super superior on reading tables inside PDFs?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, cool.
Raymond's got his head going up. Raymond, are you the one that told me that? Someone mentioned.
Well, no, but at the Data Council last week, Google was there and they gave a couple of workshops and presentations, and I was just like totally blown away by Google AI Studio. Like if you go to Google AI Studio, I mean, I was just blown away. Just put it that way. Like just go there and see what's possible. Humongous context window, multimodal, it can do all kinds of stuff. And I was like, well, okay, they finally came up. They finally came up. So yeah, I would definitely check that out.
Yeah. And there was another little thing I saw that I don't know if people run into this, but there was a hackathon by a voice text to voice thing where there are two AI agents and they hack together an 80% more efficient mechanism for the two AI agents when they recognized they were both AIs to switch from talking from English to something they developed in the hackathon called Gibberlink. Okay, which is just a fun thing, and listening to them talk was fun.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that just it's bizarre because I had a discussion with a couple of people at the conference, and we asked the question of we asked AI what would happen if they needed to communicate without human intervention. And it's like a whole report that I got, like things that they would do. Like we wouldn't be able to understand what they were saying. They would be so much faster, so much more efficient because they don't have emotion. They don't have, the context that we have. It was just all math. And I think I'm gonna post this somewhere. So I'll post it and I'll send a link. But we were talking about this. It's exactly what you're saying. Is like people are going to need to get out of the way for these agents to communicate.
It's communicate. Yeah, and thanks. And the last little thing is that I know that people are thinking about this, and Tim, you've been referring to this a lot in different ways, is the level at which they're helpful on the sort of emotional and relationship front, I think is something that is only really beginning to be thought about. I mean, meaning even if you think of, I tend to be thinking about things on a very small scale. Like you guys are enterprise. I'm sort of the one-on-one, tiny little orientation, but enterprises have people in them. And so the idea of thinking about the AIs is critical to human communication. Now, I know that's already happening in terms of writing reports, but I'm talking about it on a much more, you have a meeting where two people think about the world differently and they start arguing about something they shouldn't be arguing about. I mean, the AIs are unbelievable in mediating between
Yeah.
emotionally different contexts.
Yeah.
And go further and listen the whole time. I mean, we should be having AI listen to this discussion and then ask it, what are the 2 or 3 things we didn't talk about that's really important?
Exactly. Exactly. Like, and you
Yeah.
could say, why was that guy such an asshole? Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, if you want to really take it to its logical extreme, I heard a podcast with my old friend Danny Hillis the other day. So, and I'll try and find a link to it. But anyway, he had a great way of saying, he said, what we have today is human intelligence on a silicon substrate. That's what we have right now. He said, but the interesting thing is, why is human intelligence such a great idea? It just happens to be what we know. And what if they come up with much better ways of thinking, literally, or different forms of intelligence that are better for certain activities? So it's not just communicating, it's really the entire way of doing things. And, it's a little bizarre to try and wrap your mind around, but I think he's got a good point. We always tend to do what we already do. We always do the old with the new first. So the first thing we do is what we already know how to do. And then the real discovery is when we do things we didn't know how to do. In this case, that's non-human thinking.
Wonderful learning session, everyone. We'll do it again next week. Next Monday, we're going to be talking about OpenAI, ChatGPT Teams, and Enterprise. So if you're interested in that or getting a little more up in that, we'll be showing more demos and breaking that down as well. So thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.